I want to welcome everyone to our San Francisco Regional Mensa Speaker Series. Our talk today is an ideal one for this last month of 2020, awakening joy in challenging times. And isn't that the truth? Our speaker, James Baraz, am I
Yep,
doing
you got it
okay
right.
with your name? Has been teaching meditation for over 40 years. He's a founding teacher at Spirit Rock, which is an oasis of serenity in our own backyard. He's also a founding teacher of One Earth Sangha, which promotes climate change solutions. James has written several books, and since 2003 has been teaching his Awakening Joy course, attended by over 15,000 people from some 30 countries. His next online course is coming up. It begins on January 26th. So to find out more, please check the website awakeningjoy.info. Feel free to ask questions during the talk by raising your hand. You can just do it like this. I think we can also do it digitally. And then you'll be recognized and you can unmute yourself and James will answer your question. So now I want to welcome you all to Awakening Joy in Challenging Times. Welcome, James Baraz.
Thanks, Roberta. Yeah. As you heard, I've been teaching this course and wrote a book called Awakening Joy. Here's the paperback version. I'll let somebody else in. Awakening Joy, 10 Steps to Happiness. And I also wrote, co-authored another book called Awakening Joy for Kids, which is bringing these basic principles into the classroom and home if you want to share these principles with kids. I'll just put this in as well. As Roberta said, we're starting another course this end of January, and it goes for 5 months, I should say, every other week, 10 different themes. And it's based on some of the things that I'll talk about with you today, a few principles about how to cultivate well-being in your life. As Roberta mentioned, I'm one of the founders of a meditation center up in Marin named Spirit Rock Meditation Center. How many people have heard of Spirit Rock? I'm curious. Just a few. So that's a center that teaches Buddhist meditation, now secularly known as mindfulness, and mindfulness is everywhere. It's in Kaiser and Google and in businesses and in the workplace, social justice, and even the army. And it's been shown to be quite an effective way to reduce stress. But it comes out of Buddhist philosophy. The guy who popularized it among the wider population is a guy named John Kabat-Zinn, who is a Buddhist practitioner, and said, okay, let's make this available to everyone. So the topic of awakening joy in challenging times, probably most of you would agree these are challenging times one way or another. And I feel that it's more important than ever to get in touch with well-being inside, and that the more we can get in touch with all the goodness inside and around us, the more we can open up to the difficulties without being overwhelmed by them, without being afraid to open up to life. And although the course is called Awakening Joy, it can also be called awakening consciousness, awakening goodness, awakening love. It's not just a feel-good program, it's a feel-everything program. But the way to do that is to practice opening up to all that's good in our life. Because we have a tendency to notice what's not so good. And probably many of you are familiar with this little almond-shaped cluster of neurons in our brain called the amygdala that scans the horizon for what can go wrong. And it's a good thing that we have it, because that's what keeps us alive and safe. But we tend to notice what's wrong, or noticing the danger, more easily, at least for many people, than what's right. As my good buddy and neuroscientist, maybe you've heard his name, Rick Hansen, says, the brain is like Teflon for positive experiences and Velcro for negative experiences. So the positive experiences, oh, what a beautiful sunset. Okay, what's for dinner? What's the next thing? But when something hits us and impacts us, we can be working with that for some time. I came across a research study that said for most people, it takes, if you've had one negative encounter, somebody speaks sharply to you, or you have something go wrong between you and somebody else, for most people, it takes 7 positive encounters to balance that out and come back to stasis. People saying, hi, nice to see you. 1, oh, hope you're having a good day. 2, until we kind of like start to chill out and say, okay, now I'm okay. But with practice, we can notice all the good there is in life. These days, in challenging times, it's that more likely that our amygdala is getting overactive, because under stress, it's harder even to see what's wrong, or to see what's right, I should say, and to focus on what's wrong. So this takes some practice. We have what's called a confirmation bias. Probably, I'm speaking to San Francisco Mensa group, so forgive me if these seem kind of elementary concepts, but the confirmation bias in our brain tunes into what our beliefs are. And so if you are seeing how the world is going down the tubes, or people can't be trusted, if that's somehow a belief, oh, things will go wrong, then your brain actually picks up everything that confirms that belief and will miss all the good, or most of the good, unless it's very impactful. If you have a different confirmation bias that says, people are really decent human beings that just want to feel safe, want to feel at ease, want to express their love. And if you can look for that, if that's what your belief system is, that's the lens that you'll look through your reality, and your brain will notice and pick that up. And not only that, but you will more likely tend to evoke it in others. So one of the main principles, or one of the main practices, I should say, there are 3 principles that I'll get to in a few moments, but one of the main practices is to keep looking for the good inside and around you. And just as your own experience probably can attest, if you walk into a room and you feel somebody judging you, you ever sense that somebody's sizing you up and down? How will you feel? You'll probably feel contracted, maybe a little defensive, maybe on edge. it won't bring out the best in you. But if you walk into another room and somebody maybe who really even knows all your flaws and other things, but they're looking and seeing your goodness and tuning into how beautiful you are as a human being, or what a decent human being, how do you feel? You feel more at ease and more open. And it draws what they see is drawing out in you the best in you. And so you go through life looking for how people are going to disappoint or mess up. People will feel awkward around you and will confirm that bias. But if you go through life looking for the good in them, you will actually not only see it because your brain picks it up, but actually draw it out of them. So I'll share with you a little bit about the principles that I wrote the book and teach the course on. And as perhaps if you're familiar at all with Buddhist philosophy, the first noble truth in the philosophy is there's suffering in life. The Buddha said, the more you can come to terms with this fact, the more you're going to be able to come to the end of suffering and not be afraid of suffering. So at some point in my practice, I became very serious about my practice, dead serious, as I sometimes say, emphasis on the dead. And I got very somber around the teachings, even though they had brought to me tremendous relief and well-being. But as can sometimes happen, there's a lot of emphasis. Oh, sorry. Here's my phone going on. There's a lot of emphasis on suffering. The Four Noble Truths, there's suffering in life, there's a cause of suffering, there's an end to suffering, and there's a path leading to the end of suffering. And it wasn't a whole lot talking about happiness. And yet the Buddha was called the happy one. Why? Or the Dalai Lama wrote a book, The Art of Happiness, and he started out, the first line in that book, the Dalai Lama is saying, the purpose of life is to be happy. It's a wonderful way to start a book. The purpose of life is to be happy, because when we can find true well-being and happiness inside, then all of our beautiful qualities shine through and we experience them. So anyway, after getting serious for some time in my journey, I said, well, why was the Buddha called the happy one? What did he say about happiness besides what happens in a meditation cushion? And I took a look more deeply and looked at some principles that I packaged into this hopefully accessible program that I want to share with you. And as these teachings go, there's an open invitation to be skeptical and see for yourself. So anything that I say, please be skeptical. And if you want to ask, that's fine. But the first principle is understanding where happiness lies. Happiness does not lie in objects or even fleeting experiences. There's a deeper place that can be accessed for true well-being. So let me just ask you, instead of it just being a monologue here, like you to maybe reflect. If you want, you can close your eyes even and think of what brings you joy. And you might remember the last time you were in the middle of that experience. Maybe even have an image. And as you recall what really touches you like that, notice how it feels inside in your body. as you reflect on that joyful situation. And when I say joy, I also include any moments of ease and contentment and well-being. Okay, all right, you can open your eyes. And if you'd like, here's Christopher, you can unmute yourself and just share a few, we can take a few comments. What brings you joy? Anyone want to either raise your hand or unmute yourself? Don't be shy. What came up for you? Leslie? Yeah.
My little dog. I have a little dog, and when he gets treats, he dances and he looks so happy. That's the image that I get when I think of joy.
Beautiful. And as you're describing that, how does it feel inside just thinking about being with your dog?
Heart swells.
The heart swells. Beautiful. Thank you. Someone else. There's probably a lot other than if it's been named, your cat can give you the same pleasure. Let's take a few different kinds. Betty.
Everyone. I'm an extremely creative person, and I get more ideas for things to make or in some way create than I have time to do. And every time I actually sit down and work on something and it comes out the way I envisioned it, it makes me very happy. And just the act of doing it itself makes me happy. I could spend hours and hours or whatever it is.
Beautiful.
And then when I'm done, I'm happy with it. And
okay.
If somebody else likes it, that's even better.
So being in the middle of the creative process, and as you're talking about that, I can get a little transmission there. How does it feel when what does it feel like inside? How would you describe it?
Comfortable, I guess. Nothing hurts at that time,
Lovely. Okay. Comfortable.
Yeah, comfortable and relaxed.
Comfortable and relaxed. Lovely. Yeah. What else? Take a few more. Yeah, Brad, you can unmute yourself. Yeah.
Hi there. I think the first thing that came to my mind is taking a shower in the morning. Feeling just the hot water run from the top of my head, down my shoulders, off my fingertips. And it's this amazing sense of being released from a sense of discomfort I didn't even know I had. I walk into the shower a little tense, a little worried, and all of a sudden, I didn't know I was tense or worried, and I'm not anymore. Oh man, that's great.
Beautiful. And that lack of tension, how else would you say in a positive expression, what does it feel like?
It's like a wave of relaxation that starts at my head and flows over my body, down my neck and shoulders to my ankles, and leaves me feeling relaxed and light and full of potential. Yeah.
Beautiful. Okay. A wave of relaxation, relaxed, light, and full of potential. Lovely. Anyone else? Maybe take one more. Yeah, Sue, hi.
Hi. Yeah, I get really happy. I have an old classic car, one of these high-powered cars from the 70s, and I love driving it. I'll just end up with a grin on my face just out on the road, even if nobody says anything.
Beautiful. And as you're describing it, how does it feel inside?
Feels relaxing. It just feels, very happy, and I know everything is right.
Okay. Feels relaxing and everything is right. Okay, lovely. So the first principle is to really see what true happiness is, what it feels like, what brings you well-being and joy. And generally, it's not the next handbag, or that might give you some pleasure for a few moments, but as far as a deeper kind of a joy, it's probably something deeper than, oh, that's a nice thing I just got, and I'm all for getting your toys that you enjoy. But as far as a deeper kind of experience, whether it's being in nature or playing with your dog or stepping in the shower or going for a ride and just feeling free. And everybody who was talking described a feeling of swelling, relaxation, ease, openness. And so just wanted to point to the first principle is to see where real happiness lies, which is generally not in things, in acquiring, at least a deeper kind of happiness, which is different than fleeting pleasure. And also to notice the feeling of uplift that accompanies that moment of well-being. And there's one teaching where it's recommended, suppose you're in the middle of a generous act. The words in one of the discourses of the Buddha, he says, think to yourself, oh, I'm being generous now. Now, he's not saying, check it out, I hope everybody sees what a generous guy I am. He says, notice how good it feels for generosity to just move through us. And he says, he calls that the gladness that is connected with a wholesome moment. And he says, that gladness I call an equipment of mind to overcome all ill will and hostility. That gladness, one gains inspiration in the meaning and inspiration in the truth. So it's more than just knowing what gives you a sense of well-being, but actually being there for it and to not miss it, to be very present for it. It's one thing to know, oh, I'm feeling pretty good right now. And it's a whole other level to know, oh, this is what it feels like to feel good. Because when you turn your awareness to that actual visceral feeling, that actual dimension of well-being, not only in the head, but in the body and in the heart, that mindfulness deepens the impact tremendously. And this is the power of mindfulness, where when you are very present for a moment of well-being, you amplify it. This is one of the gifts of mindfulness. Mindfulness has the unique property of weakening unhealthy states, unpleasant states, and cultivating health. It's said wholesome states, but I'll say healthy states. And when you apply it to a moment of well-being, it amplifies it. So those are the first two of the three principles. One, to know where happiness lies. Two, to be present for that feeling of uplift that accompanies them, the gladness of the wholesome. And then three, the basic principle that whatever one frequently thinks and ponders upon, as the words are in the discourses, that becomes the inclination of the mind. Or in modern neuroscience, the phrase that Donald Hebb coined is neurons that fire together, wire together. And the more you practice wiring your brains to be very present for moments of well-being, the more you start to shift your default setting. My friend Rick Hansen had this simple formula that you might just play around with. He says, when you're having a moment of well-being, if you can, without making a big show of it, turn your attention inward and feel it for 15 seconds. You don't have to make a big show and say, excuse me, I'm having a moment of well-being here. You can just very, surreptitiously, just turn your attention, oh, this is what it feels like to feel good. And he says, if you can do that 6 times in a day, I know that's 90 seconds of well-being if you can handle it. And you do that over a 2-week period, you will start to notice a shift in your general level of well-being. 1, because you're deepening the neural pathways, and 2, because you're starting to be on the lookout for moments of well-being. You're practicing the habit of looking for the good, and you're shifting that Teflon Velcro ratio. So given that, the principle of, say, the course in the book, I take 10 different what are called wholesome states that can be cultivated. And over time, over, say, a 5-month period of time, going 2 weeks for each one, practicing opening, cultivating those states, and then paying really good attention to them, even just for 15 seconds. And if you do that, you will notice a difference. Like I said, it takes practice to do that. But what's the alternative? To be more miserable in your life and to get caught in despair and saying, oh my God, we're going down the tubes? You might as well. And one of the benefits, besides your own well-being, is the more you are tuned to that, the more others can feel that experience and resonate within themselves. Just like fear is contagious, so is goodness, so is love, so is clarity, so is kindness. And so your own well-being becomes something that rubs off on others. Not always, of course. You're not out to save the world, but when you're around somebody who has a sense of ease and is comfortable in their own skin and sees the goodness around them, as I was saying before, even without them looking for it in you, there's a certain frequency that you attune to. So your own ease and well-being in these times especially becomes a gift to everyone. Now you might say, well, there's so much suffering in this world. I don't get it. Or I'm so privileged. Why, how can I feel good when there's so much pain and sorrow? And that's a very legitimate question, especially these days with this COVID reality and all the marginalized people or those in the world who have a very, very difficult life experience. And so I just want to address that in case your mind goes there. If you are caught in either guilt that you're so privileged, or in a sense of despair for the world, or in a sense of not deserving, all we're doing in that mode is adding more despair and guilt and sadness into this world. But if we can see with gratitude how fortunate we are, it almost becomes a natural response to want to give back and put a bit more goodness into this world. And I'll read to you a quote that I love that I have in the book from Howard Zinn, who, as maybe you know, he's the great historian, wrote The People's History of the United States, the unvarnished history, where he He told it like it is. He, by the way, was the father-in-law, he's no longer around, of John Kabat-Zinn, founder of mindfulness-based stress reduction. So he wrote this essay called The Optimism of Uncertainty. I'll just read this little passage. He says, an optimist isn't necessarily a blithe, slightly sappy whistler in the dark of our time. To be hopeful in bad times, to see the good, is not just foolishly romantic. It's based on the fact that human history is a history not only of cruelty, but also of compassion, sacrifice, courage, kindness. What we choose to emphasize in this complex history will determine our lives. If we see only the worst, it destroys our capacity to do something. But if we remember those times and places, and there are so many, where people have behaved magnificently, this gives us energy to act, and at least the possibility of sending this spinning top of a world in a different direction. So this is really a gift that you give to everyone as you are more able to see the good inside, which is one very key place to explore, learning to really appreciate who this being is and like yourself or even love yourself. And outside, all the others around you really looking for their good, as well as expressing that appreciation and seeing all the blessings in life. If you can do that, then you're shifting your channel from what's wrong to open up and express all the moments of well-being that there are. Happy people, and I've been doing a lot of research on happiness for quite some time. Happy people are not happy all the time. If somebody says, oh yes, I'm happy all the time, they're living in denial or they are just sleepwalking. But truly happy people, or people who understand some of those secrets of happiness, are able to be with the inevitable difficulties in life and not be overwhelmed by them. This is one of the 10 steps to really open up to all the hard stuff in our life and not be overwhelmed by it, and learn how to convert it, transmute it into compassion. And those who have that understanding don't miss all the blessings in their life and really take them in. So this is about being real, being authentic, feeling connected, and out of that comes an aliveness that gives you energy to act and make this a better world and get in touch with those things that open the heart. So maybe before I go on, by the way, the people who've joined us, if you could put on your camera, that would be great. Appreciate it. Before I go on, I'll give you just a couple of experiential tastes of well-being. Okay, besides thinking about your dog or your creativity or stepping in the shower that was named before, just a little bit of how this can work. So for instance, and then we can open up to conversation. Excuse me. So one of the 10 states that can be that are cultivated in this program is gratitude. It's one of the most direct ways to open our hearts, because all of those wholesome states, like you said before, relaxation, lightness, opening, alive, all of those states are states of expansion. So I invite you to just access a little bit through gratitude. We just had Thanksgiving. I hope you had a good Thanksgiving, despite whatever your personal situation is, and you get in touch with your blessings. But we don't have to do it just once a year. We can have it a continual practice. So just try this, okay? Again, invite you to close your eyes and bring to mind some blessing in your life, someone or something that you're grateful for or grateful to. Some person or some circumstance in your life. And now call up an image, either of this person or this situation, so you feel more of a connection with it. And as you're calling an image with this blessing, give a simple, silent thank you right from your heart to that person or to life. Thank you. And as you give that thank you, just enjoy the feeling. Notice where it is in your body. Oh, thank you for being in my life. And then just relax and enjoy it. Don't miss it. Just feel the landscape of gratitude. Okay, take a nice deep breath. And let's do it again. Bring a different blessing this time. Maybe someone or something that's in your life. You probably have so many blessings. And call up an image. And once again, a simple thank you right from your heart. Oh, thank you to that person or to life. Thank you so much for being in my life. And again, just relax in that feeling. You don't have to squeeze anything more out of it. Just don't miss it. Oh, this is what the grateful heart feels like. Thank you so much. All right, one last time, take a nice deep breath, clear off the slate, and often third time is a charm. So bring one more blessing. Have an image, a simple thank you from your heart. Oh, thank you so much. Or whatever words work for you. And then just relax in it. Notice what it feels like. Enjoy it. Just notice now, is there contraction in the heart, expansion in the mind, in the heart, the body? And if there is, just enjoy it. Just don't miss it. And you can open your eyes gently. So just a quick check-in. I'm curious if you touched a moment of well-being. Raise your hand. There you go. That wasn't very hard. Yeah. So just imagine if you can have your radar out for all the blessings. Didn't wait until the last Thursday in November, and have it as an ongoing practice to see all the good around you, in life, inside of you, and you really let it in rather than, oh, that's so nice, but wow, life is being kind to me. Life is supporting me. And you incline your mind to that. This is an antidote to seeing what's wrong. And again, this is not to bury your head in the sand. This is, I'm all for being active in this world and having, being engaged in wanting to make this a better world. I'm involved in a number of projects like that. As you heard at the beginning, I'm involved in climate and other projects as well. But if you're coming from bitterness and frustration and anger, your actions are not nearly as effective and impactful as when you come from love. So maybe I'll just stop here. We started late. We started about 20 after. So if you have to go, you then go. But otherwise, we can just open it up and see right now any questions. There are other things that I can share with you, but I want to be respectful of time, and I also would enjoy some engagement. So anybody have anything that you want to ask or debate or whatever comes to your mind? Otherwise, I can just go on. Yeah, Greg.
What struck me is the thought that I've inherited this hunter-gatherer brain that's very survival oriented. And what you're providing or offering is, what in modern terminology we call mind hacks, a way of somehow using that brain in a way that's more valuable in this environment as opposed to the dangerous environment 100,000 years ago. Am I off base, or does that make sense to you?
You're completely right, and it makes sense. We are animals that have self-preservation, primarily the first chakra, survival, but we've also been endowed with the capacity for self-reflection and awareness, where I don't know if we're unique. I often wonder what dolphins' consciousnesses are like, but we have a choice how to relate to our environment. Most people don't realize they have a choice, but one of the most inspiring lines of the Buddha's teachings, what really hooked me, he said, if it were not possible to free the mind of greed, hatred, and delusion, I would not tell you to do so, but it is possible. And this is why I teach. So to overcome the animal instinct, being a hunter and gatherer, and to see you are also wired up for compassion. This is what mirror neurons are about. And we are social beings. We just have to get beyond our tribe and seeing, oh, we care. You can't not care. You see a movie and you get engrossed in it and you're rooting for the hero or the heroine. There you are, mirror neurons firing. And so you care. And so it's just which you feed. Is it about me and thinking, oh, this is going to make me happy? Or is it about we realizing, oh, this is where real happiness lies? Yeah.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Going once? Twice? Yeah, Roberta and Christopher. Yeah. Roberta?
I was just thinking that most of us who are here today, we tend to live up here. This is what has got us through life, was our brain power. And so it's really wonderful to let go of that and, try to live in our hearts rather than just our brains. And I think that helps us to, of course, it's good to be rational, but not all the time. We have to let that go and just let love and compassion and gratitude take over. So
You got it.
yeah, well,
And you're talking, although I never belonged to Mensa, I grew up in New York, in a very high caliber, fast or intelligent crowd. Went through what we used to call SP in New York, Special Progress, where I skipped a grade with all my friends, and then I went to Stuyvesant High School with all my friends, and I kind of prided myself on my intelligence, although I always compared myself against the ones who even had a higher IQ. But it took me a while to get, this is where it's at. And in fact, I'll just share with you a little transmission that I got from one of my main teachers. Maybe some of you have heard of a man named Ram Dass. Anybody know Ram Dass? Be Here Now. He was one of my two main teachers. This is Ram Dass just a few weeks before he passed away. And he, I was with him a few years ago in Hawaii, and I said, I had some issue that I wanted his take on, and wanted him to tell me how right I was, and I gave my case, and he said, it's really very simple. It's all about making the journey from here down to here. And as soon as he said it, there was something that impacted me very deeply, because we can pride ourselves on our intelligence, but intelligence just takes us so far. And if we're figuring out and we're not connected, we're missing the real pay dirt of true well-being. I invite you, sometimes when I share this, I can't resist inviting people to do this with me. And since I'll give you a little of the transmission, just try this. You can sit up where you are. Okay. And put your hand up in your forehead. All of that intelligence that has probably served you so well. You're all in this club of highly intelligent people, but there's all kinds of thoughts that come through this mind, some brilliant and some that don't serve you quite as much. And now go from here, the conceptual level, and just come down to here. This place that intuitively is connected with goodness and truth. Notice the difference. Again, the journey from here down to here. Just even feel the difference. Again, third time is the charm. That's what I asked him to do it with me. From here, getting into our head, as well as it can serve us, how it doesn't serve us at times, and going down to here, where you can feel the truth and feel the connection. And that's a big part of the journey. Thank you for doing that to me. With me. I had no thought, no plan to do this with the Mensa Club of San Francisco, but you know, how often do I get a chance to share that transmission with people like you? So thank you, Roberta, for sharing that. And that really is a big part of my practice. You know, there's just so much you can figure out. In the end, it's feeling connected. So Christopher, you had your hand up before. I can't hear you. Oh, you're on, might be on a different speaker. You might check to see if you're right next to the microphone. There's a caret, and go to your audio settings, because you're not plugged into the right microphone, I should say. No. And if not, you can write something in the chat box. Okay. Anybody else? Yeah, Maggie.
I was surprised the first time I did that.
Mm-hmm.
It was scary.
Mm-hmm.
It was scary. And then the second time was joyful. And the third time was just tremendous. And I want to thank you. That was just wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And what you're pointing to is a very important understanding. There are ways that we're just not used to opening to different dimensions. This comes a lot when I get into learning to love ourselves. There's all kinds of resistance. Oh, can I do that? But with practice, we can stretch ourselves. And so when you see new information, this is hard, don't let it stop you, because right underneath there's something really beautiful that's been waiting to be remembered. So thank you so much for sharing that. And now you just keep on facing in that direction, because you're going from fear to tremendous opening. Keep it up. Do the joy course with me. It works. Yeah. So Christopher, were you typing something? Yeah. So maybe, we probably should wrap up soon. Let's see. Well, maybe I'll do, I have one more practice I will do. When I invited you to the talk, I mentioned the 80s cognitive therapy was using rational approach, then they started moving to mindfulness. Yes, that is true. And mindfulness is a kind of tricky word, because even then it sounds pretty conceptual and in one's head. But actually, the word for mind in Sanskrit is chitta, which is translated as both mind and heart. So it could be just as easily talked of as heartfulness, or Loving awareness is a phrase that a lot of people, a lot of teachers use these days. So maybe I'll leave you with one last exercise. Okay, since I've been talking about loving ourselves, I'll share with you this one that you can practice. Okay, even if you don't do the course, here's something that maybe if you just get a taste of, you can keep on practicing for the rest of your life. And this is in doing a loving kindness practice. Loving kindness, the word is metta in the meditative teachings, loving kindness, where you're programming yourself with thoughts of well-being. May I be happy, may I be peaceful, may I feel safe, etc. And after a while, oh, here's somebody who's entering. After a while, you keep on programming yourself and it starts to sink in. But also things that come up that get in the way, like Maggie, you were just saying before, when you do it, you also think of all the things that get in the way of your loving heart. That's very, very common. But I want to share with you an exercise that was very, really life-changing for me in my own practice about learning to love myself or learning to see who I was. And it happened, I was doing a long period, it was a 6-week meditation course, silent meditation, where I was just practicing loving kindness. And you go through it from the moment you wake up until the time you go to bed. You're saying, may I be safe, may I be happy, may I be healthy, may I be peaceful, and may you be safe. And you're going through a whole series of categories, from yourself to a benefactor to a loved one, a neutral person, a difficult person, and then all beings. But you start out with directing it towards yourself. So the first week that's what I was doing, just sending kind thoughts to myself. And it was going okay. It wasn't great, but I wasn't giving myself that hard a time. I kept on saying, okay, may I be safe, may I be happy. And after about 3 days, it was okay. But all of a sudden, somebody came to my mind who I knew really loved me. I didn't know why, but it was clear this person really loved me. And the thought came to me, this would be so much easier if I could just see what they saw. And then magically, I connected the dots and I said, well, what do they see anyway? Why do they love me so much? And that's when I hit upon this particular way to practice loving kindness. So I share this with you. Once again, you can sit up, and this will be an internal reflection. Bring to mind someone who you share a really sweet, loving connection with. And it can be, if nobody comes to mind easily, you can pick your dog or your cat or somebody from your past, but somebody who is a relatively uncomplicated relationship, who there's just a sweet flow between you. And close your eyes and imagine them right here with you. Maybe looking back at you, smiling, oh, thanks for picking me. And as you see them in your mind's eye, take a moment to just feel the connection that you share. That unique flow between you and this other being. Let yourself enjoy that for a moment. And now, if you can, imagine that your consciousness can inhabit their reality, and imagine seeing through their eyes who they see when they're with their friend. All the qualities that touch them about you. You know, probably your intelligence, being in a Mensa club, but also probably your playfulness or your kindness or creativity, or notice all the things that touch them about you. Just see what shines through, whether or not you realize it. Imagine being them with their friend. And probably from their vantage point, they would only wish the best for you. Sending their friends some kind thoughts. Oh, I hope you see all the goodness inside of you. May you be happy. Notice all the things that touch them about you. Okay, and now, and let whatever your experience be just the way it is. There's no failing this. Just whatever is here is here. But now, let your consciousness travel back so that it's right inside of you, and from the inside, stay connected to those qualities that touch your friend. And wish yourself well. And you can say either in first person or second person, oh, may you see all the goodness inside, or may I, whichever one feels natural. Just send some thoughts of kindness and well-wishing to yourself. Just seeing who you are, what others see in you. And if you can get in touch, even with a glimpse, just let yourself enjoy that. And realize the more you can stay in touch with it, the more everybody gets to experience those qualities as they shine through. So I hope if you do get in touch with something, that you stay connected with that. When I did it for myself, what was so profound, it wasn't like, oh, you are the most amazing person in the world. It was just kind of, you're really okay. You're really a decent guy. That was it. That was all I needed to really get. And then I wasn't so busy hoping that I'd be approved by others, or that I'd be okay or worthy because of my accomplishments or whatever. This is the key to the whole deal. So if there's any comment or anything that comes up from that, just take a moment. You get in touch, anyone could get in touch with anything. You get in touch with a glimpse. And if you didn't, kind of like before, if it was, I just can't do this. I can't get in touch with anything. That's useful information. Don't feel discouraged. Just see this is an area, a very important area that that would be worth cultivating. Because when you really get who you are an expression of life that's never been here before. That's part of life. So how could you not be included in the perfection of it all? And probably if you imagine meeting somebody, okay, sometimes I say this, imagine if you met somebody who liked your sense of humor, who understood your take on things, who really understood your hopes and your fears. Imagine somebody who really gets you. Wouldn't it be great to meet somebody like that? Right? There's one person that gets every joke that goes through your head. Only one. Unfortunately, they're right inside your own skin. But if you met yourself from the outside, you'd probably be saying, where have you been all my life? What a neat human being. So just start getting to know yourself, and everybody wins. Okay, so any last comments? Any before we go? Yeah, Betty.
This is one, what you were saying, your affirmation started with may you or may I be happy, may I be whatever. The affirmations that I've heard start with I am, which sounds like it's already happening rather than a hopeful type of thing. It's something that's more positive.
And if that, and affirmations can be really beautiful. If you say it and you're not really feeling it, sometimes it can have a boomerang effect. But in the may, there's something, and really whatever words work is the idea. But in that may you, there's a kind of wish of goodwill that can be behind the words. So
And it works towards other people better.
But even towards yourself too. Okay. May you, James, may you see all the goodness inside, because there's another part of you that is wishing you well, the part that's not the little small James, but oh dear, I hope you see all the goodness. So whatever works for you, but there is something about the may, which is, it's like, I wish this for you. But if affirmations work, that's fabulous.
Okay.
Okay, so let's see. Apologies. Let's see. James, thank you so much. Okay, so
I wanted to say, James, that I feel just a wave of loving kindness that's coming all through this. You know, coming to me, coming to all of you, and it's been such a lovely interlude to spend this with you. And I certainly want to look into your course. It's again at let's see, the website is
awakeningjoy.info. Here, I'll let's see. I can for those, if you come in late on a Zoom call, you don't get it. So I'm pasting it right now.
Oh, great! Yeah.
So and I'll just explain a bit more. So there's no failing this course. It's done as it's that you and people say, I'm trying really hard to be joyful. That doesn't work. You're not trying hard. You're just getting in touch with like I said, the goodness inside and out. There's a modest fee for the course. And then there's an early bird discount until the end of the month of $220, but I don't keep anyone away because of finances. So if you have friends who want to do it, who you'd like to share and their finances aren't, that's too much for them, or for, if your situation is like that, you can offer a lower rate, whatever works for you. And it's fun. There's usually about 500 people or so that do it together through the 5 months, through from everywhere in the world. So and we do live Zoom calls, and I send out a practice letter, actually a practice letter and then a booster letter between times. We provide leaders for groups if you want to be part of a group, or you want to do it with some friends and have your own group. And it's fun. It works. That's why many people do it a number of times, because it's all about the practices. So check it out, and hopefully you can do it with me. I'm sorry, Roberta.
Oh yeah, excuse me. I know that Chris put in the chat that he has actually done your course before. Is that right, Chris? Yeah, he's having trouble communicating, but he highly recommends it.
Good. Great.
Yeah.
Well, you can have your whole Mensa group
you.
doing it
Thank
together.
you so much. And
Uh-oh.
oh wow, yeah, we could do that. We have regional gatherings that certainly could be part of our regional gathering. And oh yeah, you attended a workshop, you said, Chris. Yeah. And I assume that you'll be also doing, eventually you'll be going back to live in-person workshops.
Yeah, when the virus isn't around, we have it in Berkeley, and we video the class, and then we put it up. But we'll have videos from former classes pre-COVID, plus we'll have the live Zoom calls. It's fun. So really great to be with you all. It's an honor to speak to Mensa members, and whether or not we ever see each other again, just share your goodness with the world. We need it now more than ever. So you are now all ambassadors for joy.
Very good.
Thank you so much. Thank you, James. This has been